Hi, everybody. I'm Jason Tucker. I am the founder and co-chair of Console Room, and welcome to our virtual convention for 2021. Hope everyone is healthy, staying safe during these times that would, make the doctor I guess we have had some videos of how the doctor is reacting during all of this, so we're having a virtual version of the convention. I hope that in the past you've enjoyed our other virtual events that we've been doing for the past year, and that you also are enjoying all of the stuff going on this weekend as part of Console Room 2021 Time Crash. With me tonight are Taylor Cisco, Diana Tonn, and Jim Soos, and we're going to be talking about movies in 2020. While we're actually officially in 2021 now for the convention, in 2020 we saw movie theaters close for long periods of time, but there were still quite a few movies that got released in 2020, and we're going to talk about them. So I'm going to have my panelists introduce themselves. Why don't we start with Diana?
Hello, Diana here. I saw as many movies as I could in 2020. However, during shutdown, I think I watched too much comfort shows that I never really caught any new movies that were released or whatever. So my list is only what I saw in the theater.
No problem.
But unless there's something like we did some Netflix parties. So 2020 was a little different. Didn't get to see a movie every Sunday as we usually do.
When you say as we usually do, the three of you,
yes.
Go ahead and explain that.
Well, Taylor always sees a movie every week, and then he brought us in because, more the merrier. So, yeah, Jim and I and a couple other people, we go and see a movie every Sunday. And they're the Netflix party when we couldn't go to a movie.
Sure. Okay, Jim, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Jim Soos, and we're not supposed to talk about Movie Club.
Bad. Because more the merrier.
Yeah. But, movie-holic. And I saw not as many movies at the theater as Taylor did, but I was there and, saw quite a few films. And the quirkier, the better, is my motto. I like the strange and unusual films. So, yeah. And we're going to talk about some of them.
Great. Taylor, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Taylor, or maybe it's TR. I'm not sure how it's booked this go around for this convention, but huge cinephile, love movies. Been seeing at least one theatrically released movie every week without fail since 97, 98. Just kind of like my thing, and kind of like what Diana mentioned, people wanted to come with, and definitely the more the merrier. This year was a little different, but didn't really dampen the movie watching experience. It was theatrical until they shut it down, and then they reopened it for a bit, so caught a few more, and then they shut it down again. And then in between, of course, with all the streaming options and some of the like simul releases or whatever they were calling those things that Disney Plus and Netflix and some of the other services were doing, it was, even though it was a weird year, I think it was still a really great year for film, because there's a lot of stuff that came out that I probably would have skipped or not have would have seen like much later this year had it not been for the circumstances that we're all under.
Sure, yeah. I know that there were a couple of film festival releases that I got a chance to see only because they were in film festivals that streamed online So some foreign films. Why don't we start by saying what our favorite movie that we saw, our favorite 2020 movie that we saw, whether it was in the theaters or online. So we'll start on a high note and talk about the good stuff. So who wants to start?
I'll start.
Okay.
I think my favorite was probably 1917. Honestly,
Christopher Nolan. Right?
No,
I'm right.
no.
Right?
That was, gosh, I'm forgetting who directed it now. Taylor, you've got the info.
1917. That was Chris Nolan.
Was it Chris Nolan?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
All right. I was wrong, and that's okay. But I really liked it a lot because I liked it how it essentially was just one continuous shot, and it was just so fluid. And there wasn't really any. We only had two major stars in it for about 5 minutes: Mark Strong and Chris Cumberbatch. They were the only two. That was a big name in the film, and it was just truly astounding.
And you saw that in the theater, right?
Yeah, we saw that in the theater before, like I said, last January.
Okay. And that, do you feel that was, I don't want to say the only way to see the movie, but do you think it enhanced it seeing it in the theater? I know, Taylor, you've recently made a contentious post online about the theatrical versus the home video viewing, but 1917 definitely sounds like one that seeing it on the big screen would have been a highlight. I did not see it myself, so I won't have that opportunity. But what do you think, Jim?
I think that it helped, at least for me, unless I just have a normal 40-inch television.
Normal.
Normal. I mean, it's small compared to. And it was, I haven't seen it on, I own it, I own the Blu-ray, and I have yet to sit down and watch it again, since it's been released on, on Blu-ray. But, but it was just so enhanced. The darkness of war, the terror that these, men went through it just was dirty. It just felt dirtier. And I just like the visuals. I like the colors. I'm a theater guy. I love seeing films in the theater. The time that, you and I went to go see W.C. Fields films, at this theater, it was just amazing to see that on the big screen. I've seen, Citizen Kane on the big screen, and that was a visual experience. I'm not saying every film needs to be seen on the big screen, though.
Sure.
There's a lot of films that came out, like Fantasy Island, and we'll probably talk about that a little bit later.
Are you saying that maybe didn't need to be seen on any screen?
No, it's a Blumhouse film, so you got to watch it. Because it's a Blumhouse film.
Right.
If you're a fan of horror and whatnot. But again, it can be done and watching on your regular television. So.
Well, let's see what. Oh, there we go. Get my lights back here. Diana or Taylor, what about your highlight of 2020?
I'll go.
What was your favorite film?
It's hard because they're both time travel kind of movies, but I'm gonna have to go with Tenet.
Okay.
Taylor and I saw it on my birthday, but it was like literally coming out of it, we're like, it's like Inception married Doctor Who. And
interesting.
very wibbly wobbly time traveling.
And
Going
was
from the
that
back.
also Christopher Nolan?
That was Nolan. 1917 was
Yeah.
Sam Mendes.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Still a great director. But I don't know, it was just, I wanted to see Tenet over and over again to see if there's more I could pick up. And that was a definite.
And how did you see that in the theater?
Yes, we actually saw it on my birthday, which was kind of nice. But it was just the way it was. I loved it. Patterson, right? Yeah. I mean, so much better than, that twinkling thing. I don't even know. I've never even watched the movies.
Are you talking about Twilight?
Yes. But it was up there with like with him in Lighthouse, like he's actually a good actor. So, but yeah, Tenet would be my number one for 2020 until Wonder Woman.
I had mentioned, that this is part of the 2021 Council Room Virtual Convention. We are actually recording this in the in December of 2020. So right now, everyone is waiting for Wonder Woman 84 to be released and shown on HBO Max next week, a week from today. So when we're talking about 2020 movies, potentially one of the biggest ones we won't be talking about yet because for us, it hasn't come out yet. Taylor, what was your highlight of 2020?
Yeah, and just to clarify my statements, I love the theater experience and I love good movies. And I think together, that's an unparalleled just thing to do. It's a great experience to have in life. But if the movie is lacking, no amount of theater experience, in my opinion, will fix it. So that's just for clarity. Like if it's a crappy movie, it's gonna be crappy really big, it'll be crappy really small. Anyway, my pick for 2020 was also a time travel movie, really, really cool, called Synchronic, which starred Anthony Mackie, probably best known for like playing Falcon in the MCU for the past decade or so. He's done some other stuff, but Falcon's probably his biggest or most well-known role. And I forget his co-star's name, but his role that I remember him from is he played Christian Grey in the Shades of Grey trilogy. I'm not sure if he's done anything else as high profile, but Synchronic is fantastic. And it was one of those films that when theaters kind of were briefly opening, I don't remember exactly when it came out. It was either right before they closed and they were kind of cutting back the audience, or that brief window when they reopened for a bit in the summer and late fall before having to close again. But it was an indie picture, and the time travel that they presented was unique. And there's a lot of time travel movies, a lot of time travel, I don't know, techniques that have been displayed on film over the past century or so. But I thought the way that Synchronic did it, where basically you get a pill, and then that takes you back at certain points in time, and then where you are physically kind of denotes where you'll end up going back. So there's this kind of time travel without control. And then layered over that, there's sort of this mystery of trying to find Mr. Gray's missing daughter. Because I don't remember his name, and that's his best movie, or that's the movie I know him from. But Anthony Mackie can definitely carry a picture. It's a hard sci-fi. It has some elements that are very, very cerebral, but it's also because it's Anthony Mackie, and if you've seen him in Falcon, it also has some really fun, charismatic moments where he can kind of do his thing without getting like too Will Smithy with it. So it was really fun, really original. I'm a sucker for hard sci-fi. Like every year, there's usually like one or two. Like in previous years, like Freaks and Captive State, those are always the ones that like really grab me. And Synchronic, I mean, they're as weird as the year was, there were some great films that came out in 2020, but I think Synchronic just kind of edges over the others for me.
We did gloss over Parasite.
Parasite was 2019, wasn't it?
We saw
because it won the Oscars. It won Oscars in February.
It's tough to. How do you talk about when you see a movie and everything? Because Parasite was a 2019 movie. because it won Best Picture at the Oscar ceremony in 2020. But I mean, it's an amazing movie, so and probably one that most of us actually saw in 2020. Yeah. So how did you see it was synchronic?
Synchronic.
Synchronic.
Yeah. Like you're gonna spell synchronicity, but forget the ITY.
Yeah, with Jamie Dornan. That's who
his name. Jamie Dornan.
Yep.
From the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy and 50 Shades DACA and 50 Shades Super Black. I don't remember the third one is. Those are movies you don't have to see on a big screen or a small screen. Those are movies you can skip altogether.
So how did you see it?
So one of the nice things about going to the movies as frequently as we do is that we run out of kind of like the so-called A-list pictures, the big studio pictures. So even before everything got shut down, we would sometimes have a week where we're like, oh, we've seen that. That looks cool. Let's check this out, because all we have to go by is the trailer or the poster or something that's kind of like, oh, haven't heard of this one. And so that's how we've seen things like Assassination Nation. I mentioned Captive State, Freaks, not to be confused. And so this one, it was just like, well, we can watch Tenet again, or and so that was one of the nice, I don't want to say nice, but one of the sort of happy accidents or side effects of the limited releases and the limited screenings was that more stuff came. They weren't all great, don't get me wrong. Like Synchronic was definitely like the cherry or the flower growing out of the pot of dirt compared to some of the other pictures.
Sure.
But
no,
good picture, really good.
Yeah, no, it really was. And it also portrayed the horrors of time travel, especially if you're a person of color. Going back in time would suck.
I think that's been used in a number of what was it a TV series that featured that?
Well, briefly, there was Timeless, I think. You might be referring to.
I'm thinking of,
Really, it was just that one throwaway line. But Timeless, which was a great show that was canceled way too soon. They still kind of like just kind of glossed over it. They're like, hey, maybe it's not so great to go back in time. It's like, oh, you silly racist. And then they just keep going back in time anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, Synchronic was sort of like, this is what happens if like a black dude all of a sudden popped up in like a white supremacist house in the middle of like 1949. Like it wouldn't really be the Marty McFly experience.
I guess.
But I mean, one thing with the Synchronic was that he had a certain amount of time and he could get back if he could be in the spot he was at.
Yes.
One of the I'm looking at my Letterboxd list of 2020 movies that I've seen, and I don't really have that many that rated above 3.5 stars, but one of my 3.5 star movies did feature time travel, and that was Palm Springs. I think that was Hulu, streaming on Hulu, or was it Netflix? I think it was Hulu. Have you guys seen Palm Springs?
It is in my queue. That's the Andy Samberg, right?
It is an Andy Samberg movie.
Like,
while I myself don't believe in spoilers, I feel that media is not meat. It doesn't go bad. I will not reveal anything, any twists or anything, but I'll be interested to see what you think. I think people know that it has time travel in it, so
it's kind of funny you bring that up, because we mentioned Hulu, Netflix, HBO Max, Amazon Prime, like the streams this year were kind of like the old Hollywood studios back in the 40s and 50s, like just cranking out a ton of material, and a lot of it was really good. Sorry, just wanted to
go ahead.
You mentioned Hulu. Well, I made a list of
highlight of what you've seen.
Oh man, the streams, like 3 that pop out the most. I think one was Netflix, one was HBO Max, but anyway, it was Project Power, which was a Jamie Foxx movie, kind of like a weird take on superheroes.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Where it's like there's like a narcotic and you take this drug and then you might gain a superpower. And it was actually a lot of fun. That was one that was like, okay, this definitely could have been like a big like summer tentpole blockbuster picture. The Witches, which was a remake of the old Roald Dahl book, which was a remake. They made into a movie a while ago. That was surprisingly good. That was an HBO Max original feature. And then Netflix put out this movie called The Old Guard, which came and went, but it was Charlize Theron and like this sick action movie about kind of like immortals. Like, do you remember that opening scene in X-Men Origins Wolverine? Where like it's Wolverine and Sabretooth, Hugh Jackman and Liev Schreiber like fighting throughout time. Like imagine that, but that's the premise for like a really kick-ass movie, the entire feature.
Oh, wow.
And it starred Charlize Theron, and that was fantastic. And that was another one, like not really a lot of fanfare, just sort of like, hey, Netflix, you want to check this out? It's like, whoa, this is kind of amazing. So yeah, the stream.
But it being on Netflix, it's still available, right?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, the streams.
That was a fun film.
What Jim, what have you seen on streaming that you've particularly enjoyed?
Well, from our video, one of the films that we saw, I did love The Old Guard, but I really liked, but it was a 2016 film, and it was a Bollywood film. And Taylor knows what the film is because he's like, oh my God, because it's so crazy. Was it Bagai? Bagal? Baaghl. And it was crazy. It really is, because I like watching foreign films just for the, we're so used now to watching Chinese and Asian films, but to see an Indian film, it's culturally different because it is an action film where it's a martial arts film, and then there's a song and dance right in the middle of it, and everybody's ridiculously beautiful.
Nice.
Oh, and
that's on.
And it's on Netflix.
Okay.
And we were with Shannon Paul was enjoying the hell out of it too. And
did you do a Netflix party for it?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's been something that a lot of the channels have added in, where you can't go as a group to the movie theater really, but you can sync up and everyone watch stuff. And I think we're going to be doing some of that with our video room kind of for the convention this weekend. So yeah,
I'll be there.
Diana, what has been your highlight for streaming?
Well, like I said, I kind of watched a lot of comfort. I rewatched, of course, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, those kind of things. I just didn't have the energy to want to watch something completely new.
I get it. It's a
have
year like that. Yeah.
So I just rewatched comfort shows or movies just to keep myself busy, but I just didn't have the mental capacity sometimes to like watch a movie. Even when we did our Netflix parties, it's like I'm joining, but I'm not going to pay attention that much. I'm just going to chat with you guys.
Sure.
Yes, it happened. It was a mental capacity, it's like I just don't have it.
We talked about highlights, so let's turn it around and let's drag some stuff through the dirt a little bit. What would you say is the worst 2020 movie you saw? Let's start with Taylor.
I mean, and I say this as a fan of the source material and actually a lot of the cast, and sadly there's a lot of competition for this like worst of the year. There was quite a bit. I'm gonna make it a tie. I know we were chatting a little bit as we were starting. I was really diehard in this one particular, but I'm gonna make it a tie. I'm gonna say it's a 50-50 for worst of the worst between Bloodshot starring Vin Diesel, just because that was everything wrong with American action films. It was just so it was so many cliches. The acting was stilted. It was a paint by numbers plot, no surprises. Even the effects, which were kind of cool, the setup to get there didn't really make a lot of sense because Bloodsport or Diesel has a thing where his chest will light up. So the filmmakers are looking for like ways to kind of accentuate that. So there's a fight after the car chase in this tunnel where they knock over a flour truck, so they're all fighting in flour, and I was like, come on, guys. It's okay to watch once, but it was definitely like, this was super sad. And that's only tied with a film called Let Him Go, which I think we were the only people who saw that movie, not just in the theater, but like when it was released. Like us and like Kevin Costner's mom are probably the only people who sat through that.
Yep.
It was like, it should have been good, but it was just, they didn't do anything with it. They kept like, it's kind of like going to, like, you're really hungry and you're in line to get a seat or something back in the old days when you go to restaurants, and they keep saying, oh, just like 5-10 minutes, and you can smell the food, and then you're like getting really, really hungry and you're really ready to eat, but they never give it to you. They never give you a table. That's what Let Them Go was. Like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Where are they going to go with this? This is really cool. What's going to happen now? And then like the answer is nothing. Nothing happens now. It just keeps setting stuff up and then just walks away. Like if some dude had like 1 billion dominoes and made this really intricate thing and said, you know what, let's not knock this over. Let's just put them all back in the box. That's how frustrating it was. So yes, Bloodshot and Let Him Go, just not for me.
The entire ending with the house, it's like,
come on.
Yeah.
And it was this close. It like just a couple tweaks, it could have been an amazing movie.
Yeah. No, it could have been. Yeah. But the title says it all. Just let it go. Just walk away.
So what about for you, Jim? What was the worst one for you for 2020?
Was Black Christmas.
Okay.
It's on HBO Max right now, streaming. We talked about, it made me feel so uncomfortable being there watching this film, because it was just so bad. It was just poorly written, and the writers were so angry at the world. I would have to say, I know Taylor said he could barely watch it. Unlike him, I saw it at the theater. It was one of those days that I went by myself to go see a movie. And I was like, one of the only, there was me and this couple right behind me. And they didn't say a word throughout, they didn't react or anything to this movie. They were probably like me going, I'm glad that I had the AMC, A plus or the plus plan, because it didn't really, cost me anything to see that movie.
Yeah.
But it was just so painful. Because it was just a very, very, very angry film, and it just made you feel uncomfortable.
But not in a good way.
Not in a good way either. And and it was just mean-spirited. I can see what they wanted to do with this film. And no, it was a horror film, and it was just stupid. And I think Carrie Ellis was in it, and it's like, why? Dread Pirate Roberts, why? Yeah.
They undermine their whole premise. I know we're trying not to do spoilers, and so this doesn't really spoil the plot, but it's trying to make a statement, kind of like the original Black Christmas, about like toxic masculinity and misogyny and how that can go wild. But then there's a twist in the third act that actually like erases all that and undoes it, because it's not about societal misogyny.
No,
there's other forces at play, and it's kind of like, no, these guys are just jerks. You don't need to have these goofy whack-do, MacGuffins to cover. It's hard to talk about without spoiling it, but yeah, it's hard to watch going into it just for the subject matter and some of the scenes. And then when they get to the big reveal in the third act, you're like, that now just made everything we just watched kind of pointless.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's too bad. I know that Jim, in particular, you're a horror fan, and seeing a horror movie that just didn't. And I don't know when you went to see it, whether it was before or after, what time it was, but potentially taking your life into your hands to see it.
I know I saw it. Actually, January 2nd.
Oh, okay. All right.
So it was already out for maybe a week or two, and I saw it the following and right after New Year's Day, and I was like, oh, okay, now, yeah. And then a week later, or on the 9th, we saw 1917, which turned it around for me, as a film experience.
That's good that you were able to at least see something to kind of cleanse your palate. At least I'm looking at my list. I saw a number there. I have a number of stinkers on this list. Most of them streaming, but in the theater, that was particularly bad for 2020. It looks like I don't have any in the theater that were 1 or 1.5 star, but my 2 stars for the theater were Sonic the Hedgehog and Dolittle.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, I forget about Dolittle. Maybe purposely.
Well, he did very little, I guess.
No love for Sonic, though?
I mean, it wasn't terrible. Like I said, I didn't do it as a 1 star, but I was hoping for more from Jim Carrey, I guess. And it just didn't really. I mean, I don't have the nostalgia for the character, for one thing, because I never really played the Sonic video games. Now, I do have to say that a highlight of the experience, and I think I put this in my Letterboxd review, was that, let me see if I have it here. Let's see. Yeah, here's what I put in here. When your villain is played by Jim Carrey and he never makes you laugh even once, that goes beyond knowing the video game. In fact, the funniest person in the movie gets a little screen time. It's almost criminal. So Rachel, Maddie's sister, played by Natasha Rothwell, made me laugh the only time in the entire 99 minutes. Do you remember the character?
Oh, she was fantastic. But
yeah,
no love for Jimmy
amazing.
Carrey? His Robotnik was so great. All the little slide digs.
No, but when I was in the theater at the end, I don't remember if it was a post-credit scene or what, but a little kid at the end was like, "It's Tails," and that just was like, aw. And then the other, Dolittle. Like, I was expecting so much more from Dolittle, and I didn't get it. But I guess that kind of, I mean, the big budget one from back in the 60s didn't do well either, I guess. It's a cursed book. Speaking of horror, something I saw on streaming a few months ago was Bad Hair. Have you guys seen Bad Hair?
That's good.
No.
I thought it was cool.
Taylor, you saw it? You liked it?
Yes. Because
Justin Simeon?
I mistakenly thought, because there's a short film on HBO called like Hair Wolf. Or maybe it's on Netflix. It's part of like when they're doing like their whole like Black people are cool, because all the streams had to prove that they were like on the level for a second because of all the unrest that was going on. And Hair Wolf is kind of like a short film version of Bad Hair, but not really. It was more of a commentary about like cultural misappropriation and things like that. But I was like, oh, cool, they made it into a feature, and I was like, oh, this is way different and kind of well done.
Yeah, it was one that had been on my list for a while, and then when it got released, I made a point to watch it, and yeah, I thought it was pretty good. And thought there were some really great performances in it and stuff. Did you say you have or have not seen it, Jim?
No, I haven't, but I have a disappointment from this year too that I'll make.
Go ahead.
The film that I was that came out this year, I was disappointed in, was Scoob.
Yeah.
I
didn't dislike it, but
there were better cartoons. I mean, that came out. I mean, I liked Trolls World Tour. That was fun.
That was really
Scoob.
Scoob was.
I liked moments of Scoob. You know, I did like the origin of how Shaggy and Scoob met, but beyond that, it was just like, oh,
With all the little Easter eggs, the little Hanna-Barbera shared universe.
So that was what I felt was kind of the only value, I guess.
Yeah,
in
the Captain
movie
Caveman.
was watching all the Easter eggs. In fact, when it was done, I think I immediately went online and found a site to list all of the Easter eggs in case I missed any.
But I
Because
do own
there
it.
were a lot.
I mean, it's a Scooby-Doo movie. Not to be like a snob, but it's like I thought it was like very cute, a lot of fun. Like my kids loved it. I mean, has there ever been really like a good Scooby-Doo movie?
Yes.
Where you're like, what? This is amazing. It's usually like, oh, that was fun.
Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. That is probably one of the best ones. It really, really is.
Wait. Are you trying to tell me it's better than Scooby-Doo meets the WWE?
Or Scooby-Doo meets, Batman and Robin. No, it was actually really, really good because this one was, they went to an island to investigate. They separated for a period of time. They got back together. Daphne was a host of a show, and they were looking for, to expose all these crackpots, these people doing horror stuff. And they were called down to Zombie Island. And the zombies were real. And that was really nice. And it was well done.
Scoob was cute. Damn it. It was adorable.
I mean, it definitely Scoob had a lot of moments.
It was.
It was like that's the problem, I think, sometimes with these movies is, you can have a movie that has lots of great moments, but if you don't have stuff tying it all together, all you have are just moments.
Oh, see, I'll take that bet though, because also 2020, one of the best movies was a movie that was nothing but moments. Like every single scene or sequence, rather, not scene, was kind of like its own little awesome nugget, and it was just kind of like nugget after nugget after nugget. It had a plot, but the plot didn't really matter as much as the fact that every sequence was like a little nugget, and that was, oh god, Birds of Prey.
I knew
the Emancipation of Harley Quinn, or whatever the crazy title was before they changed it. That movie is fantastic, and it's basically like you could take any sequence from that movie by itself. It's like a bunch of little short films, and they're all great. And they're like, well, we'll kind of have a loose plot that kind of strings it together, and no one cares about the plot. Like you're watching, you get to the end of it, you're like, what was it about? That was kind of stupid, but who cares? Because it was awesome to watch.
I knew as soon as you started talking about it, I knew that's the one you were talking about.
Did you? Everyone saw it? Yes.
Yeah, it was one of the ones I saw in the theater.
And did you
same here.
enjoy it?
Well, I saw it with you.
Yes, but did you all enjoy it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I enjoyed it. Well, I mean, I liked how they changed Harlequin's character, where instead of wearing extremely tight hot pants, she wore shorts. She was, it was more. Yeah, I can see somebody of her stature wearing that compared to wearing what she wore in Suicide Squad. That's all. I think they kind of thought about things, and since she was, I believe she was a producer of this, and they, kind of changed her character around to be even a better character than what she was in Harlequin. Or I mean in Suicide Squad, pining over the Joker.
Yeah, Margot Robbie was listed as one of the producers. Yep.
Yeah. And I like Margot Robbie. I really, really do. She's one of my favorite Janes ever from Journey of Tarzan.
No, definitely Birds of Prey was amazing. Yeah. I kind of wish that they had given her a solo movie, and maybe given the Birds of Prey a solo movie instead of making them kind of, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth fiddle to to Harley. But It was great. It was great.
Let's see a live action of her cartoon.
There were a lot of superhero movies that came out. I mean, every year it is the 21st century version of the Western, I guess. New Mutants finally got released after delay after delay after delay after delay. And I'm seeing frowny faces. No love for Anya Joy. Was it Anya Joy Taylor?
I love her in The Queen's Gambit.
Anya Taylor-Joy. That's it.
Yes, Anya Taylor-Joy is amazing in The Queen's Gambit. She's fantastic in Emma. Yep, that's my opinion of New Mutants.
I've not seen it yet. I just got it tonight.
Well, I can't wait to hear what you think, Jim.
Okay.
I didn't hate it. It felt like, to me, it felt like the beginning of a movie. That, you know, I'm like, you get to the end of it and you're like, okay, what happens next? That's kind of, you know, like if you took about half of the superhero movies out there and ended them halfway through, you'd have New Mutants.
So it kind of felt more like a pilot for a television series.
Maybe a little bit. I know that also next week we have Soul coming out.
Yeah.
Yes. Did people see the previous Pixar movie, Onward?
Yes, we saw that at the theater.
What did y'all think of Onward?
I liked it. I thought it was cute. I thought it was fun. I thought it was imaginative. So yeah, I really did enjoy it. Saw it again on Disney when they released it. So yeah, it was a very touching film about, you know, just about searching for dad, bonding with your father. So yeah.
I now that it's on Disney Plus, I should bring it up and start freeze framing through it, because that was one of the things. I mean, it's true of any Pixar movie, but in that one in particular, like the detail that goes into every shot, like the scenes where, you know, it shows like his bulletin board, the kid's bulletin board, and seeing, like, you know, that every single thing on the bulletin board is like fully fleshed out. We got a message from Susie. Onward was so cool, or from Kathy and Susie. Onward was fun. Onward was so cool. I love the older brother Barley, and I have a plush toy of him. Awesome. And then we have Soul coming out soon, so that is exciting. Speaking of that, and Diana, I know that we haven't had you participate a lot, but I'm curious as to, I know, Taylor, that you watched Mulan when it came out. You didn't wait for the free version. You went ahead and plopped down the $30 on top of the Disney Plus subscription. Did you feel it was worth that extra money?
Yes, I did. Because there's two films that I did the pay up front. There was that one, Mulan on Disney Plus, which was slightly more expensive than, I think Jim mentioned it earlier, but Trolls World Tour, which I think was on Amazon, and we paid to see that one also. I liked Mulan. I think that the live action Disney films, which I think there's going to be a panel about that actually at Council Room, that's all the live action Disney films. I think that they're their own genre, sort of. Like, obviously you can't help but make comparisons to the animated predecessors, but I think they're in their own world and they have a different focus. Because this Mulan, I definitely read a lot more reviews and try to get some more history, because I'm not as familiar with the Mulan folklore and the cultural significance of those stories. So when I went and watched it, when I first saw it, I was just complete blank slate. And I was like, let me watch it, only knowing the cartoon from before. And I was like, okay, this is okay. They kind of shifted the focus and kind of made it, in my opinion, made it more open. And then of course, as I've read more about it, it kind of tainted a bit of how they're kind of cherry picking different interpretations of the folklore, and how they kind of thing I had no idea about until some friends kind of like got me hip, is that the original or the animated Mulan was seen as like kind of like a trans empowerment movie, because there's all these themes and songs, and it definitely resonated with trans people in a way that I was unaware about. I had no idea. So the fact that those elements were kind of completely removed and omitted from the live action version, I fully understood after learning that, like, okay, this is why it's kind of weaker. On the surface, again, popcorn flick, great special effects. I thought the lead actor, whose name I forget, she was okay. Like, she didn't stand out. The actor who played the sorceress, I thought was phenomenal, and the emperor, I thought that they were like really, really well done, especially her father. He had all that gravitas. But yeah, that was one I could have waited for.
Sure.
But yeah, I did not mind paying the extra, because it was one of those things like before AMC had the A-list program. That's pretty much what, you know, a group of four would pay, or slightly cheaper than what a group of four pay. I think it was like $20, $25.
Yeah.
So really, that's one person in concessions nowadays.
Sure.
Now,
that kind of, go ahead, Jim.
Oh, real fast, I was going to say, to add on to your Disney thing, your live action, I read somewhere they are working on a prequel, mind you, of The Lion King.
As long as they keep the photorealistic animals, because that was so weird and awesome.
I'm just going to derail this panel for 30 seconds. When I was walking into the theater, people were letting out, and somebody said, "How did they train all those animals?" I just kind of kept on walking.
So this kind of leads into a question from Natasha in the chat. How do you think the movie watching experience will be different due to the pandemic, but after the pandemic? AKA, will we still have lots of willing to pay to watch the releases at home versus going to the theaters? And how do you think the pandemic has affected movie making process itself in a positive way? So we have about 12 minutes left in the panel. We have a couple of people who are participating by being our virtual audience. So why don't we go ahead and bring them into the panel to ask any questions they have, and we'll start off with Natasha's question, if she has any clarifications to how I read it. But yeah, Diana, since we haven't heard from you in a while, what do you think? Get out your crystal ball and tell us what you think it's going to be like once we're all vaccinated and we can go back to the theater again.
Sure. Okay. Just one thing. My first movie, I think, was Brahms' The Boy 2.
Oh.
Never got to me on that one. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. It kind of happens when Taylor and Jim are on a panel with me. I kind of get forgotten a lot. I think, okay, I'm so mixed. I love going to the theater and it's just us, which I think is why Sunday evening is really nice. But at the same time, I need people to go to the movies so we don't have to stop going to the movies. So we need people to go to give the money, so we can. But I also like our Sunday evenings and actually having the whole theater.
Oh, so you like being able to go to the theater and it's just the three of you in the movie theater.
Or our friends, yeah. Because we're movies and there's like seeing people and you're like, why are you seeing this movie? And then their comments are just so dumb. It's like, you're not even seeing this movie. Why are you seeing this movie?
So let me ask, on top of that, when it has been so few people in the theater, are they still behaving the way, I guess, I don't know. Are they behaving like they're in their living room rather than in a movie theater?
Depends on their age.
Okay.
If it's an adult, not so much. But if it's between the teens and the mid-20s, it's kind of like, okay, whatever. But just, why are
The
you sitting so
glow
close to us? You have a whole theater.
The glow
Yeah.
of the phone.
But, oh gosh, yeah. But, you know, I mean, I enjoy the going to the theater, and that's, even if it's annoying, it's not ruining my experience.
Sure.
So you can come back to the movies.
What about Jim and Taylor? What do you think about what's the future of movie viewing post-pandemic?
I think it's going to be a lot of incentivization because theaters were having trouble getting people before the pandemic just with streaming options. So before the home releases, before the simultaneous releases and all that stuff, but there are programs like, I know it's like commercial, but like the AMC Stubs A-list, where you pay basically like $20 to $22, $23, a couple bucks a month, basically like $5-6 a week. And then you can see up to 3 movies per week. And that includes like specialty screenings, like IMAX, 3D, all that. It's all covered in that monthly fee. So it's sort of like Netflix for the live theater experience. But every time I meet someone, usually the first question when they find out how frequently I go to the films is they're like, how do you afford it? It's like, oh, I pay like $22 a month. They're like, what? And it's like, there's this program. They're like, I've never heard of this. So I think there'll be a bigger push from the theaters to get out more kind of like incentive programs like that. And I also think they're going to really ramp up the specialty in crystal ball predictions, where we're going to get a lot more digital theaters, a lot more 3D screenings, a lot more like, maybe we'll see double features come back. And then conversely, I think we'll also see a lot of prices actually going down.
Really?
One of the things that AMC did, I thought was really good, was they had their, I forgot what they called it, but basically like cinema classics or some other kind of cheesy thing, or fan favorites or film favorites, but they show older films for $5. And when I'd be going through looking for my seat, because they do the pre-selected seating and stuff like that, I kind of take a peek at the other films. And even the ones that we saw, actually, we saw like Hocus Pocus got to be released in the theaters. Empire Strikes Back got to be released. Those were like, even though it was a Sunday night, still probably the biggest, quote unquote, biggest because of the restrictions. But that was the most crowded theater. So instead of like our group and like 1 or 2 other people, it was like our group and then maybe like 6 or 7 other people. So people were coming out because it's like, oh, $5 for a movie. I know I want to see it. I might have missed it the first go round. So I think we'll probably see some of that mixing in, where like the big stuff will be in theaters, like Black Widow, for example, next year. But Black Widow might be on 4 screens, and you'll see like Jurassic Park and like Twister or some other, like, it's my crystal ball, my prediction.
Well,
Sure.
remember, we also saw it was they released The Matrix in the beginning of the year, and we saw that. And that wasn't a discount, but it was packed, if I recall. You know, the theater had 2/3 people in there, you know, for a film that's been released, and that was really neat. But I think we're going to see a lot of stuff that, I mean, the Trolls did really, really well being released, you know, on video, on demand. But one of the films that also did really well that was on video and theater at the same time was Bill and Ted's.
Hmm.
You know, the third film. And it did really well. It was a fun film. You know, maybe I saw it with nostalgia eyes, but I just sat there and smiled and I enjoyed it. Because again, they're likable characters. They're doofuses. They're your buddies from high school, you know, doing things. And yeah, they're starting to realize, hey, you know, we're getting older. We can't do that. It was just a fun film. I think we're going to see more of that. I know that there were rumors and talks about Wonder Woman being released down the line as in the theaters once theaters open up again. And I think that Black Widow is going to probably see both, theater and film. I think we're gonna, theater's not gonna die because people like us want to go to the theaters. We want to experience. We want to get that big old tub of popcorn and a big old soda, sit there, and just just immerse ourselves in film. And I mean, there's been films that I've seen over the years. Shakespeare in Love. I remember seeing that film, and I was like, wait, I'm watching a movie. Halfway through it, I was just so immersed and how much I loved it.
Kathy, Susie, any questions from either of you or other virtual audience members?
Called Catherine Sullivan, Kathy?
Yeah, Kathy Sullivan. You've been on a panel with her before, I believe.
Yeah, but I can't call her. That's amazing. That's like, hey, calling like Einstein Al, or like F. Scott Fitzgerald Fitzy, or Stephen King like Boffo or something like that. Like, you can't.
How did you know that was his nickname?
Yeah, go ahead, turn your cameras on. Let's see everybody.
Not really much to add, except I'm really disappointed in myself for missing out on all the fun, old specials that they brought back to theaters, just for the fun of being in a theater again and seeing those favorites on the big screen.
Yeah, I did not go and see Hocus Pocus, and it's one of my favorite movies, but yeah.
Not experiencing the whole thing, the big shot, being able to look at the big screen and have that sound wash over you.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Do you have any questions for our panelists, Kathy?
No. I also liked Onward, and I liked the mother storyline in there too.
Oh yeah. And when she went to when she and Corey got together to, it's just the world building for that was really cool.
Yeah. Hopefully they'll re-release that in theaters, because Onward, I honestly think that had it got the big screen, like the bigger push, I know it was released in theaters, but it kind of like right at that transition to. Yeah,
so that's what I saw in the theater.
Like that was basically it was the fraternal Frozen. Someone much cleverer than I came up with that, because they're like, it's really about these brothers who go on this adventure to do a thing, but that's just the icing. The actual cake is really about their relationship. Sort of like the first Frozen isn't really about stopping Prince what's his face with the sideburns. It's more about Elsa and Anna, like finding Elsa and Anna, and it's lots of cool AD&D references.
Yeah, well, and they actually did release. I think they released a mini game that you can play for the game that Barley.
Oh.
Yeah, you can get a game book to play the adventure.
Oh, so, wow.
Yeah. I hope we see more from that world and everything. So as we wrap up, let's give what we're excited to see coming up in 2021 for movies. Diana, why don't you go ahead and start?
2021. It's so hard to know what was completely is being pushed down or is going to come. I guess even though we've seen so many of the trailers to Black Widow, I will give them credit. When the theaters reopened, they showed a different trailer.
Nice.
So now we've seen another part of the whole movie. But I really don't know what's going to come out, what's going to just be wherever, because there's not a lot of talk on too much except for the blockbusters that were pushed out. So I guess May of 2021 is like the only movie that I'm aware of that is supposed to still be in the theater.
Sure.
And yeah.
Well, cool. Yeah, no, that's exciting. I mean, as we talked about, superheroes are still coming out fast and furious. Is there a new Fast and Furious movie coming in?
Number 9. And
ridiculous.
I know Taylor and I will be there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's so ridiculous.
So what are you looking forward to the most, Jim?
I think the Eternals.
Okay.
It's a Marvel film, but it's going to be, spanning centuries and millennia, and I'm curious how they're going to deal with that. Not, how they're going to handle it, because it's going to be the introduction to all their space stuff, from what I'm hearing. Some of the rumors, but again, I think it's going to be really, really cool. It's a diverse cast, so it should prove to be fun. But the next thing I'm really excited about is WandaVision.
Nice.
Yeah.
Taylor, what about you?
Yeah, kind of like to Diana's point, there is a lot that seems like it's gonna be moving around a bit. But the three, if they stay on schedule, the three I'm most excited for are Dune.
Yeah,
that looks like it's going to be really well done. Again, assuming it's on schedule. Live action Disney film Cruella de Vil is getting a live action movie starring Emma Stone. And all I've seen, I haven't seen the trailers yet, but just the one still image of her in full costume holding a bunch of Dalmatians. I was like, I'm sold. I'm going to be there. I love a lot of the Disney films, but that looks great. And then probably the biggest one is a horror film. They're redoing Candyman. And even though the production house, I think it's Bloom and some other folks, but it's a screenplay written by Jordan Peele, who has so far 2 for 2 with horror and thrillers, and it's directed, I think it's Nia DaCosta is the director on that one. But it would be nice to see Candyman done well, because I think that could be very, very cool.
The first one,
please tell me it's the Candyman from the 7th Doctor era.
No,
that would be an interesting twist. Love that.
Had to bring it around to Doctor Who. Go ahead, Diana.
I just want to say for Dune, which I totally forgot because that's scheduled for October 1st, 2021, but it also looks like it's going to be a simultaneous with HBO Max as well.
Yep. I'm definitely, I am actually about 20 pages from the end of reading Dune for the first time.
Okay.
Wow.
So I'm excited for that. So
you started 2 years ago?
No, actually I started about a month or so ago.
Yep.
Yeah. Also with Candyman, Tony Todd is still going to be in the movie somewhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
I think for me, I forgot to make mention of Godzilla versus Kong.
Sure.
That's right. That's all, because Warner Brothers, their whole slate for 2021, they're moving to the streaming. So that'll be a fun one.
Well, there's, Legendary has gone legal, though, because they weren't informed that they were going to go digital, and they want people to experience Godzilla versus Kong in the theater. So that still ties with Natasha's question of the future, is that, it's going to be a fight, because some theater, another one that they want you to see in the theater is the new James Bond movie.
Yep.
With the world's worst font.
Well, so there's still a lot of stuff to look forward to in 2021. The cinematically, I'm not going to say theatrically. I'll just say cinematically. So,
okay.
Well, all right. So thank you everyone for viewing our panel on 2020 movie releases. And I hope that you enjoy all of the other things going on this weekend at Console Room 2021 Time Crash, our virtual event. Thank you, everybody.
Escape room.
Diana has been working on the escape room.
And the video room.
Yes, and our video room, everything. But definitely, Diana's put a lot of work into the escape room. So I hope that you are participating in the escape room, and that you also check in to the video room and see what we have going on there. So thank you, everybody. And see you. Is if I say see you at the movies, are we crossing any boundaries there? Okay. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.